Today, we're going to dive into the really intense, demanding, but also incredibly profound world of Korean Zen practice. We're drawing from the teachings of monk Soobul to explore a path that's designed to do just one thing, to tame that stubborn, unruly mind that, let's be honest, lives inside all of us. But first, let's just start with a question we have all asked ourselves probably a million times. Why is our mind so hard to control? You know that feeling, right? It races with thoughts you don't want, it gets stuck in these endless loops, and it seems to resist every single attempt we make to find just a little bit of peace. This isn't some new problem. This is the fundamental human condition that this practice confronts, like head on. So, let's really define the problem the way Korean Zen sees it. It all starts with getting a handle on the nature of our own thoughts, this constant internal chatter that feels so relentless. This tradition has a specific word for it. Sangsa. Now, it literally means life and death, but in this context, it's talking about that constant, tiny cycle of one thought being born and another one dying over and over and over again inside your head. It's this exhausting, never-ending internal monologue that keeps us trapped, and according to this teaching, it's the real root of all our suffering.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, this is where things get really intense. The path starts with a series of commitments, a vow to create an environment of absolute, just radical focus.
Now, just look at this list for a second. These rules sound pretty extreme, don't they? Cut off all relationships, don't leave the temple, don't even read books, not even scriptures until you've had a breakthrough. You're probably thinking, wow, this sounds cold, maybe even a little antisocial. But there's a really crucial distinction we need to make here. And this right here, this is the real point. This isn't a permanent life plan. It's a temporary training strategy. Think of it like an Olympic athlete heading into a training camp. They isolate themselves, not because they hate the world, but because they have to eliminate every single distraction to achieve one singular goal. In this case, the goal is mastering your own mind so that you can come back and re-engage with the world in a much more helpful and compassionate way. Monk Soobul actually points out that even the Buddha, after his enlightenment, went to his own father's funeral. The goal was never to become some cold, unfeeling statue. The key point is, you can't really give water to other people from an empty cup. This whole intense period is about filling your own cup so you have something real and substantial to offer later on.
So, what is the actual technique? What's the tool that's used during this period of intense focus? Well, it all centers on this one single powerful tool, the hwadu.
A hwadu is basically a paradoxical question. One of the most famous ones is simply mu, which means nothing. But here's the thing. It's not a riddle you're supposed to solve with your intellect. Its purpose is the exact opposite. It's meant to be so unsolvable that your logical thinking mind finally just gives up. And that creates an opening for a deeper kind of awareness to emerge.
So the process works kind of like this. You don't think about the hwadu, you have to become it. The source material uses this fantastic analogy. It's like taking a pill. You don't just keep the pill whole in your stomach, you let it dissolve and spread through your entire system. The doubt of the hwadu becomes one with your breath, with your steps, with your very being. You hold on to it relentlessly, like a cat watching a mouse hole, with total, unwavering attention.
Now, as the mind starts to quiet down, the practitioner faces a new, much more subtle challenge. And that's learning to tell the difference between a useful state of mind and a completely useless one.
And this distinction is absolutely critical. See, the mind can get quiet in two different ways. One is muggy, a dull, useless blankness. It's like being in a deep, dreamless sleep. Yeah, you're out, but nothing's happening. And in that state, the hwadu is gone. The real goal is yeong, which is a luminous, vibrant stillness. This is where the endless chatter, the sangsa, has finally stopped, but your mind is crystal clear, and the hwadu is just vividly, effortlessly present.
So, if a practitioner can get to that state of luminous stillness and hold on to the hwadu without wavering, what happens next? This brings us to the goal of the practice, and maybe more importantly, what comes after.
The culmination of all this is a moment called tapa, which literally means to shatter or break through. The incredible tension of holding this unsolvable question finally just snaps. And when it does, the practitioner's old, limited view of themselves and reality, it shatters too. But this isn't the finish line. It's actually the starting line for a completely new way of living.
What comes after is captured by this beautiful word, yoyu. It's this idea of having the inner space, the capacity, the yoyu, to finally turn your attention outwards. After forging yourself in that fire of practice, you don't emerge to retreat. You emerge to re-engage with the world, but this time with a newfound wisdom and a deeply compassionate heart.
And this just lays out the full arc of the journey so clearly. That solitary inward focus, that's only the first half. The second, and you could argue more important half, is all about turning that personal insight into active compassion for others. You achieve insight to develop wisdom. You use that wisdom to cultivate compassion, and then you use that compassion to return to the world and actually be of service.
So all of this leaves us with a pretty big question. I mean, very few of us are going to go on a 3-year silent retreat. But the principles here of seeing our mental chatter for what it is, finding a single point of focus, and cultivating that inner space so we can show up better for others, those are deeply relevant. So what would it actually look like to apply even a fraction of this kind of discipline and this kind of purpose to our own busy modern lives?